1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, frame of 3, okay. Okay, cool. You got this station now?
There you
Okay, awesome, thank you. Yeah, that's on frame of 3. Hit record. Good.
Okay, we're ready? Okay, thank you for coming today. My name is Brian Wolfer. I work for the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. I'm here today to give you an update on our efforts to locate the cougar that's responsible for the attack on Diana. Yesterday, it was late morning when it was determined that Diana had been killed as a result of an animal attack, and we determined that a cougar was the animal that was most likely responsible for that attack. At that time, we immediately sent some folks out to the scene, and I came here and talked to you folks, but we had folks on the scene trying to make their way into the location where the incident happened. When they got there, we found some very steep and rugged terrain. This attack happened on Hunchback Mountain, on the Hunchback Mountain Trail, which is, I describe it as a knife ridge, and so this is a very steep country, and the trail's right on top of the ridge, and numerous kind of sheer drops and cliffs along the sides. And so we quickly determined that it was a pretty large effort just to get staff in there. And so we realized that our hopes to get dogs on scene this morning was probably not gonna happen. We had a number of logistics that we had to work out. And so today we've been working diligently with a number of our agency partners to overcome some challenges that terrain provides us. We've been very grateful for the help of those partners. The Clackamas County Sheriff's Office has helped us set up some remote communication, and so we're gonna have some remote communication relays on the mountain. We don't have cell service, we don't have radio service, and so the help from the Sheriff's Department is gonna help us get communication to our staff so that we can help to ensure some staff safety. The speed of travel is a challenge for us right now. It takes a couple hours on foot just to get people to the scene, and so we realize that we're gonna have to be able to move much quicker if we're going to be able to pursue and locate and capture a cougar with the use of dogs. And so the Forest Service, the Mount Hood National Forest staff has been great to work with. There's a number of blowdowns and issues on the trail that would prevent us from using mules and being able to traverse the trails efficiently and quickly. And so the Mount Hood National Forest is working to get some crews in to remove some blowdown trees and things that will help us become more efficient in the coming days. We're also working with Oregon State Police, and they're helping us with logistics. And the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Wildlife Services has brought in staff from outside the area as well as within the area. Those staff are experts in what they do, and we will have trained dogs and mules to help us with the pursuit. To this point, the actions that we've accomplished is to get things set up so that we can make some good efforts in the morning and actively trying to locate and capture the cougar. In many ways, the delays today of setting up logistics were not all lost. The rain that we had last night and some periods of heavy downpour today would have likely reduced the scent available for the dogs. And so today was a good day to make sure that we have the logistics in place and the system in place so that tomorrow and in the coming days we can be effective as we get into these efforts. Currently, the Hunchback Trail is closed at the trailhead, so the trailhead is closed. It is possible, and in fact likely, that we will see some additional closures in that area. We are working closely with our partners at the Forest Service, and if and when there are some additional closures, that information will come from the Forest Service, and we will also try to pass that information on so the public knows. The purpose of these closures is really to allow us to do our jobs, and as I said, this is very steep terrain. I've got some photos I can show you later, but if we are traversing the country with mules, there's numerous places where we will not be able to turn mules around, and if we're encountering people on trails, In places, the trail on top of that mountain is less than 2 feet wide with very steep and even sheer drops on the sides. And so we need to make sure that we can traverse in there and be safe too. As I said yesterday, we're still awaiting results of tests from samples that were sent to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Forensics Lab in Ashland. We don't have those yet, and we still are hopeful that we can get some of those initial results by the end of this week. And when we do, we will let you know. One of the questions that we've been getting fairly repeatedly is, how are we going to know if we get the correct cougar? And again, we're hoping to get some DNA confirmation from the forensics lab and from those samples that were sent down there. And we will match that with any cougar that we locate. And when we locate them, our intention would be to kill them and then take samples and then try to match that up. And so we will not know for sure that we have the correct cougar until we're able to get those samples. Now, one thing to be aware of with that, we talked yesterday about cougar territory sizes and home range sizes. And so cougars are territorial, and males will have territories that are typically 50 to 150 square miles. So you'll have a large territory, and that male is very effective at keeping other males out of his territory. You'll also have then female territories that can be anywhere from 15 to 50 square miles, and those will be found within a male territory. And so it is possible that we have more than one cougar in that area. Most of our cougar habitat, you will have a dominant male that uses that area, and you will have at least one and maybe a couple of females, depending on if there's any overlap in the female home ranges. We're going to do the best we can to make sure we get the correct cougar, and we are going to try to verify that with genetic testing. And with that, I guess I'm going to open some questions, and then when we're done, we've got a little bit that I can show you on train, but since you've got your camera set up here, we'll take questions first.
So just to be clear then, you will find a cougar, kill the cougar first, then match the DNA later?
Yeah, so the question is, are we gonna catch a cougar, locate a cougar, kill the cougar, and then take the DNA samples? And that's correct. We really don't have a way that we could capture and hold a cougar and wait for test results to come back. And especially in that terrain, that's just not an option for us. And so it will have to be a lethal removal of the cougar before we'll be able to get those samples.
I think that someone might ask the question would be like, are you going to kill this cougar humanely?
So the question is, are we going to kill a cougar humanely? And we are going to be as humane as possible when we do that. And we are not looking to indiscriminately kill a large number of cougars. We are really focused on targeting the area of the attack. And then as we need to, we can expand out from there to ensure that we get the animal. These animals do have large home ranges. They do move, and it is possible that this animal is not right at that location right now.
The Welch's school is right behind the trailhead, and I know yesterday you had said schools were being notified. They have a 6-foot perimeter fence around the playground, but kids are still being allowed outside for recess. Is that enough of a barrier? Could a cougar jump a 6-foot fence?
So the question was in regards to the Welch's school nearby and the fence there, and whether or not a 6-foot fence is effective at keeping a cougar out. Cougars are very athletic. They can jump great distances and great heights, and they can jump a 6-foot fence. That being said, if you have kids that are out on the playground and they're being monitored by teachers and staff, and they're in a group, that is a tremendous deterrent. We really don't see instances of cougars going into an area that's crowded with people, and especially if it has to jump over a fence and show itself to get there. I think if they're taking steps to make sure they're supervising kids at the school, that's good efforts on that part.
I was told to ask a question. Is with the wildfires we've had and warming and stuff, are cougars not being pushed, or are they kind of the interface? Is it coming closer to humans, or is it the same as it's always been?
So the question was whether or not some of the wildfires we've had and changes in climate and other things are resulting in cougars being pushed around people. So cougar history in Oregon, I think a lot of people know, we went through a very low period in cougar populations, and in the 60s, we estimate we were down to roughly 200 cougars in the state of Oregon. They were nearly extirpated from the state. At that time, they received protections as a game animal, and those populations were allowed to rebound and expand. And it's been a great conservation success story. But we now have roughly 6,600 cougars in the state of Oregon. And so with that increase in cougars, and with cougars occupying what is good cougar habitat, that means that cougars are at times living in proximity to people. They're living in suitable habitat that has prey, and so forested habitat that has abundant deer and elk has a chance and a likelihood that cougars at least occasionally spend some time there.
Can you tell us how you guys, we have 6,600 cougars, how do you track that? Do you track where cougars are in certain parts of the states? Do you know where one dominant male is versus another dominant male is? Essentially, how does tracking work?
So the question is how we come up with our population estimates of 6,600, and also, what kind of tracking of cougars do we do? So our population estimate is largely built off of population modeling, and there's a number of data that goes into that. We have a mandatory check-in of any cougars that die, whether it's from hunting seasons, roadkill and other things. We collect samples from those, and we get some age structure analysis. We look at the reproductive history of females, and we look at how many kittens were present in the last litter, and that all goes into building a model. We've also done research. Now, we don't have collared cougars all across the state. We don't know where all of our cougars are, and that's one of our challenges. But we've done research where we have collared cougars in select areas and looked at both survival, so we know what some of the survival rates are. We've looked at dispersal and what survival rates are at dispersal, looked at territories and how territories overlap, and that all that information is what we then combine into getting a population estimate.
You mentioned you were doing reconnaissance today. What does that mean when you're talking about on the trail?
Yes, so the question is, what do I mean by reconnaissance and kind of the planning that we're doing today? Really the logistics of being able to get in and being able to get in safely are the issues that we've tackled today. Communication, being able to communicate with staff that's on the mountain, being able to move safely, being able to move efficiently. There's just been a lot of planning today and a lot of working with partners and really solving some of these challenges that would keep us from going in and being real effective.
So fair to say the real search will begin tomorrow once all the scrum is complete?
Yeah, so the question is, will the real search begin tomorrow? The active attempts to capture the cougar, we fully expect to begin tomorrow morning. And so, one last question.
What's the margin of error on that 6,600 number?
So the question is, what's the margin of error on that 6,600 number? That's not an answer I have for you right now. That's something that we could get for you. So with that, I'm going to wrap up the question and answer. A couple of things I want to point out real quick. We have a kind of some geographic type of references. This picture here is showing the Hunchback Mountain Trail. This picture was taken by the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office when they were conducting the search for Diana, and so this was taken from the air. You can see the trail traverses the top of the ridge, and there's cliffs and sheer drops. It is very, very rugged country. This photo was probably taken within a half mile to a mile of where the attack occurred. This map down here is just showing us kind of in relationship to the Zigzag Ranger Station and the Mount Hood Highway. The area we're talking about is Hunchback Mountain and this Hunchback Mountain Trail. Again, we may see some additional closures in that area, and so stay tuned to see if those actually happen. But those would be intended to give us safety as we move around that area. And so with that, I thank you.
Thank you. Cameras out today?